Yep.
Hoorah! We just did the Dutch grammar on the article and the noun, and we're beginning to get a better understanding and how it reflects in the Hebrew, and that there are differences between languages. It is Tuesday 23 of June, and the summer has begun, and we all notice it because it's very warm outside. I want to do a short recap over the last session. I think it will be helpful to understand the accents, because if we learn what the accents in the language are, it helps us to get a better understanding of the meaning of the words and how to get to the essence of a word. So, just a short recap. What I did already over here. The first thing that was discussed was the metek. Metek. The metek, it's a bridle. It's something that causes you to pause in a sentence. Here are some examples. The metek is at the tsegol, the patach, or the chirek, and it helps you to distinguish between the kametz and the kametz chatuf. Pays attention to pronounce a vowel. You make the vowel long, and it's a syllable marker. And a compound shava is like this. You know, these dots in the word Elohim. This is a compound shava for the segol. This is the compound shava. Sorry. Oh, mistake. Chataf patach. And this one and this one. This is the O sound. This is the E, I or E sound. This is the A sound, and this is the A, E sound. Very short. Elohim. You don't say Elohim. It's short. So the metech can precede the compound shava. Oh, I need to stop annotate. That's the go. Where is my eraser? Update. Every time we discuss syllables, every time we have it about syllable markers, about accents, about vowel changes, it's this simple chart that is over here. It is such a great help to understand this simple chart. An open syllable has a long vowel. A closed syllable has a short vowel. So what does it mean? Let me help you. If you have a syllable like this, C, and here a vowel, this one, and here another vowel, C, you know this is CVC. Because of this short, this T symbol must be a kametz chatuf, or the O sound. That's how you recognize and distinguish between the A sound, the patach, the kametz, and the kametz chatuf. Is the kametz chatuf. When you have a CVC syllable over here, and it's unaccented, then you know it's short. The kametz is a long vowel. It's on the upper level of this chart, remember? And the kametz chatuf is a short vowel. it's on the lower chart side of the chart. So when you see CVC and you see the T symbol, you know it's the O sound because CVC is short. But remember, it's about unstressed syllables. When it's stressed, then what happens to the vowel happens to the, it's long or short. Over here, open vowels, stressed, it can change. But when you have an unstressed syllable, CVC, then it's short, then the T symbol in the CVC is an O sound. I hope this helps. This was just a recap from what, let's say. So I want to do is do you want to see again this video from him about the matik, about the symbol, what we just discussed, or shall I continue with the makef? The makef, okay? Yeah. Where are you?
Makef. The makef is a short horizontal line that connects two words that are associated to each other, closely associated to each other. So an example is Bnei Yisrael, the children, or literally the sons of Israel. Bnei, there's your makef. Let me write this thing. Hopefully I won't misspell it like I did once before. Bnei Yisrael. Kind of embarrassing when you misspell Israel. Okay, Bnei Yisrael. This here is your makef. Short horizontal hyphen-like line that connects two words. It literally means binder or connection. So it's kind of opposite the method we had before. Method causes a pause and therefore separates things. This joins things. In this case, it joins two words. It often causes a stress change. When you join the two, it's like the whole thing becomes one word. So any stress here gets lost, and it operates as one long big word. So the stress would be over here. And the stress change can cause vowel changes. So let's look at an example of that. Let's actually get a new page. This is quite common. This example, you see a word like this, 8, koli, two words. Koli. Okay, this means my voice. 8 is the direct object marker. It just marks the object of the verb. So if someone says, listen to what? Listen to my voice. 8 will tell you that what follows it is a direct object. So sometimes it'll be written like this, but sometimes the two will be connected with the makef. Let me just leave it like that for the moment. And it will look like this. So everything's the same up here when it's connected by makef. But when you do that, and it makes sense to connect this with a makef because they're very closely connected. This is marking that this is the direct object. When you connect them, then it becomes like one word, the stress is over here, and that means this gets reduced. So when they're connected, you'll actually have a segol here. When they're not connected, you'll have a tzede here. So a makef can cause vowel change. Another common example is kol. Kol means all or every. So let's write kol ish. Kol ish means every man, but sometimes you will see, and I'll just leave the vowel off for a moment, you'll see it connected like this. Kol ish. And okay, we have our dagash line there, but the long O gets reduced. Now what does it get reduced to? Any idea? The short O. Long O gets reduced to short O, which is this. This is not the Kametz, this is the Kametz Hatuf. So this is another place where you see the Kametz Hatuf is when the kol is reduced because of the makef. So makef can cause vowel reduction again. So in summary, makef is a joiner of two words that are closely connected, and it causes the two words to function as one word with stress change and sometimes associated vowel change.
Okay. Ik moet even Georgien antwoorden. Oh. Ja, ik ben al met het Hebreeuws bezig. Ja, even Georgien helpen. Die zat in de verkeerde groep te kijken. Daar is ze. Hoera. Dus even het onderscheid. Misschien nog even voor de helderheid. Even weer een nieuw scherm. Als je een woord hebt in het Hebreeuws. En dit is the syllable divider. I have to speak English. So we have a word in Hebrew. And these are the syllables. What we always have in a word is where the stress is, or the klemtoon in Dutch. I write it over here, the klemtoon. When you have a word with one syllable, it's easy. The stress is on that syllable. So when you have the word yom, means day, you have one syllable, one word, and the stress is on this syllable. When you have two syllables, over here, syllable divider over here, normally the stress is on the last syllable. On the last syllable. So the first syllable, it has no stress, and the last syllable has stress. So how do we call that? When this is the syllable that carries the stress, we call it tone. Then this is the pre-tone syllable. And the syllable before that is the pro-pre-tonic syllable. So this is pre-tonic, and this is tonic or tone. So when you have a word that always constitutes or one or more syllables, when it's one syllable, it's evident there's only one syllable, so the stress is on that syllable. But when it has two or more syllables, the stress can be is normally always on the last syllable, but there are situations like the word eretz, which means earth. Let's change color. The syllable divider is here, but the stress is on the first syllable, eretz. Yeah? Okay. The metek, what we had.
Mag ik even een vraagje, Ronald?
Ja?
Je zegt Eretz, maar als je...
Eretz, sorry.
Ja, wat ik net zeggen. Dus dat is op het eerste. Oké.
Ja, Eretz. Ja, je hebt gelijk. De metek is a bridle, and it divides between syllables, makes a pause, and the makef, like we just saw, connects. So when you have two words, then this is the metek. And the metek connects these words because they are closely related. Like we had in the video, my voice. It's talking about my voice. So these words are connected. And Bene Elohim, these words are also connected. Elohim. So the Bene Elohim is connected with this makef. And what we saw was that in some instances, the vowel underneath the first syllable can change. And it was the word et. It's normally written like this. But when it's connected with a makef to the next word, the vowel changes from long to short. So that's what we saw in the example. Let's save this for a moment. Yep. Any questions about the makef? No questions? Great. The next video talks us about the Kametz Hatuf, like I already gave you a little bit of insight. Oh, this one can go down. The Kametz Hatuf.
Kametz Hatuf. Finally, we come to the module that I've been talking about, the module where we're going to distinguish between the Kametz and the Kametz Hatuf. Now, if you remember, the Kametz in our simplified vowel chart showed up on this side. And under it was our patach, those are A vowels. Next to it we had the tzere and the sagol, or E vowels. Then we had our I vowel, which was tzere. This is the simplified chart now. Hidik, yud, where yud sometimes is there, sometimes it isn't. These brackets represent may not be there. With a short hidik down here. And what did we have next? I guess the O vowel, so holam, and then sometimes the vav was there, sometimes it wasn't, and Kametz Hatuf. And just to be complete, let's put our shidduch and our kibbutz here, our U vowels. So what we're doing here is distinguishing between this vowel and this vowel. Same symbol, different vowel. This is the long A, this is the short O, pronounced A, the Kametz Hatuf. Now, there are rules for determining when you have a kametz. I'm not even going to tell you those, though, because there's not much point in learning them. You may as well just learn the rules for how to determine when you have a kametz. Sorry, a Kametz Hatuf. The Kametz Hatuf is much less common. So when you're reading, if you just be on the lookout for a Kametz Hatuf, then assume a kametz otherwise. So learn the smaller case, the less common case. Now, our rule for this is built on or is related to the syllables. Seems that a lot of vowel activity is related to syllables. Remember, we have two types of syllables. We have open and we have closed, and for each we have a stressed. If you see this symbol in a closed, unstressed syllable, CVC, unstressed, then you have a Kametz Hatuf. That is your basic rule. If you learn that, then you'll know how to distinguish the two. Let's take a look at an example or two. We'll look at the word Vayakom. Va. Ya. Vayakom. Now we'll talk about what this dot is later. Don't worry about that right now. Let's just divide this up into syllables. Well, the important syllable division is here. Vayakom. Okay. Oh, most importantly, we have a stress here. Vayakom. So because we have a stress here, this is the tonic syllable, this is not. So this syllable here is a C, V, C, unstressed, and it has this symbol in it, so we know it's a kametz hatuf. So it's pronounced vayakom, not vayakam. Okay, that's an example of a CVC unstressed at the end of a word. Let's take a look at another example. This is pronounced code. Our syllable is here, our stress is here, because it's not marked, so it's at the end by default. And so here we have, again, a CVC, consonant, vowel, consonant, vowel, consonant, unstressed, because stress is falling here, and we have our little symbol, so we know it's a kametz hatuf. So this is a short O, code, not cod code, or something like that. So this is our short O, that's the important thing. So, if you remember our basic rule, then you know how to distinguish the two. Now there's another case, but we've already dealt with it. If you see, and really it follows from this anyway, if you see a metheg before a kametz, you know it is a long A. It is the real kametz. And that's because this metheg is causing a syllable break. So you don't have a closed syllable. You have an open syllable. So just remember, if you see the metheg next to a kametz, it's a kametz. It's a full kametz, the A, not the kametz hatuf. Another one to remember, just because it occurs, it's really part of this rule, but we dealt with it already under makef. Kol, when it has a makef, will have a little kametz hatuf there. And that's because it's reduced. The rest of this word causes the stress. When you join two words with a makef, the rest of the whole thing becomes one word. The stress is over here. So this reduced from a holum to a kametz hatuf, which makes sense because you're in your O vowels and you're going down from this long one to that short one. So that's just a common case where you see it. Memorize this rule. CVC unstressed is kametz hatuf. Metheg with a kametz is a real kametz.
Je bent niet hoorbaar.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Okay. When I did the lesson the first time, the next module he goes through Genesis 1 to 1, verse 1 to 5, and he shows all the accents in the original text, and it helps you enormously because all these little symbols that we had these questions about in the first session. What does this hook mean? What does this half square mean? What is the double point over there? It appears to be that all these little symbols are marks to help us pronounce or sing the text. That means once you see such little symbol, you know where the syllable is with the stress. And that helps you. So when you see one of these weird symbols somewhere in the Hebrew text, then you know that that is a syllable that carries the stress or the clemtone. And there are some weird markings, and he discussed them. There are some weird markings in there that do not do anything with the stress, but are more, how do you say that? A symbol that causes you to pause, like a comma or a semicolon, a punt comma in a sentence. You really know that when a punt comma, the dot and the comma, when it's there in the sentence, hey, the first part is this and the second part is this. So when you see that symbol and he shows you, you know this is the first part of this verse and this is the second part of this verse, because this symbol is not a stress symbol, tells you not where the stress in the word is, but it tells you here ends an important part of this verse and now comes the next part. And sometimes they are in contrast or in balance, maybe a better word, they are in balance. He shows you. But I said this because I wanted to show you what I did. Let's, oh, new screen. And this helped me to understand. It takes some time, but that is okay, you know. What I did, for instance, let me get my, oh, come over here, my friend. There you are. Go over here. I took I wrote out all the, so I wrote out, let's put it first. I wrote out Genesis 1, verse 1 to 5 in Hebrew. There's no transliteration, just in Hebrew. And you leave some space. So what you do, just begin. Let's take verse 2. We, ha, a, rets, hayeta, oh, a little bit longer. Tohu, no, I need to do that correctly. Where's my redo? Tohu, vavohu. So what I first did was to mark the syllables. When I read Hebrew now, because you read and you do it more often than you did earlier, you start to see not group of letters, but you start to see syllables. So you get we, ha, aretz, ha, yeta, tohu, va, vohu. So that's the first thing you do. You divide the sentence in syllables. And the next thing you do is to tell you, I forgot something in the, there is a symbol over here. So you know there's a stretch, different color, green. So this is the tonic. So this is pretonic and this is propretonic. And you only do it once because these 5 verses as homework, it takes you some time, but the benefits are so great. So hayeta, the stress is on the last one. So this is pretonic and this is propretonic. Tohu, so this is the stressed, or the tonic. So this is pretonic. Here is the stress, so this is pretonic. And there is no name for a syllable after the syllable that carries the stress. And you could, of course, write it out, but you only transliterate the text in order to be able to read it. we do this so you can learn how to speak Hebrew. But once you have mastered to read it directly, you do not need any longer to transliterate the text, because this is going on in your mind. But as long as you have difficulties to speak the word v'haaretz, because some words you remember, but there are words you see for the first time and you really start spelling these, and that's okay. Then it helps to transliterate that word. Just write it out and then see where the stress is, and then you are able to read the word that is there. And it takes you some time, you know. Learning a language like Hebrew, like any language like Russian or Chinese or Dutch or German or France or Spanish, any language you're not familiar with takes time to learn. So what we do, this is an aid. An aid. Do you describe it like this? An aid? How do you spell that? Oh, it's a help. Like this. Yeah. It's a help. This transliteration is for you to help you to pronounce this word. So, but what I did, first thing, divide it in syllables, then find out which syllable carries the stress, so you know if it's pretonic or propretonic. And then you know, because you see here an open syllable, CV, if you want to, you can do that also. You can say, guys, this is CV, this is CV, this is CV, but it's stressed. This is CVC, it's unstressed. This is CV, CV, CVC, and this carries the stress because it's the last syllable. CV, CVC, carries the stress, it's the last syllable. CV, CV, this carries the stress because of the symbols on top of here. And this is CV, unstressed. And so you know, and then you learn CV, unstressed, it is long or short syllable, vowel.
Long.
Long, correct. And CVC, unstressed, is short. That's why you know when you see the T symbol under a CVC, it's the Kametz Hatuf. It's the O sound. All right. And then you have CV stressed and CVC stressed. So now let's go to this module where he talks about Genesis 1, verse 1 to 5. And we first look at it in the module, and then we go to Bible Hub, and we take a look at it for ourselves, okay? This one. I love this one. It helped me so much. Make it bigger. This one can go away. Because now finally we start reading Hebrew and recognizing words, and we are familiar now a little bit with the first verses of Scripture. Bereshit bara Elohim et hashamayim ve'et haaretz. But we might remember them, but now we can read them in the original language, and I find that fascinating. Okay, let's listen to Charles when he discusses all these weird symbols.
Genesis 1, 1 to 5. This is the first paragraph in the Bible. This is real Hebrew, real pointed, vocalized biblical Hebrew. And I wanted to show you this because I want to show you the difference between vowels and accents and how to use them, at least a little bit of how to use them, how they can be useful, even if we don't use all their functionality. Also, we'll see some examples of the makef and the metheg in here that we've already talked about. Just a note here, in Hebrew, Genesis is Bereshit, which is the first word of the book. Now, you see a lot of little squiggles and symbols here. Basically, if If it isn't a consonant, which you already know, and if it isn't a vowel, then it's probably an accent mark. Let's look at a few. So here we have vowel, vowel, vowel. That's a hidik yud there. First accent mark, this little squiggle here falling to the right. Vowel, vowel, accent, vowel, vowel, accent, vowel, accent on the same syllable. These are vowels, there's another accent, etc. Okay? Now, the accents are useful, or one way that the accents are useful is that they always sit on the tonic or stressed syllable. So it helps you know how to read. So let's read this here. Bereshit bara Elohim. Now all those three, the stress fell on the end anyway, which is the default position. Bereshit bara Elohim et hashamayim. Emphasize that a little bit. Et hashamayim, the stress is here, not on the last one, but it's here. And you know that because that accent mark is sitting there. So it's hashamayim, not hashamayim. Et hashamayim ve'et haaretz. Again, the stress falls. The tonics, the accent is marking our stress or tonic syllable, which is the second to last here. So it tells you how to pronounce it. Just to translate here, Bereshit means in the beginning, bara Elohim. Now typically, this is all, we'll cover this all later, but just because it's fun to do and we may as well do it. Your verb is here and your subject is here. That's typical in Hebrew, that your subject follows your verb. So in the beginning, literally, created God. But if you say that in English, you think God is the object. It's not, it's the subject. In the beginning, God created. Et hashamayim, et marks your direct object. What did he create? The sky. Et hashamayim. V is our conjunction, and or but. So you have to run with context to determine which. Et hashamayim, the sky, the heavens. Ve'et haaretz, and the earth. Okay, end of verse. This here, just circle it, those two vertical diamonds, that is called the sof pasuk. And the sof pasuk isn't really an accent mark, it's the marker of the end of the verse. Sof means end, pasuk means verse, sof pasuk. Now, whenever you have a sof pasuk, the word that is attached to it, the last word in the verse, will also have this little vertical bar here, and that is an accent mark, and so it sits on the tonic syllable, and it's called a saluk. Now, it looks just like the metheg. The way to distinguish them, let me just get rid of this big green thing here. It's kind of in the way. Okay. The way to distinguish the saluk from the metheg is that the saluk is an accent and therefore sits on a tonic syllable. The metheg, if you remember, marks the secondary accent on a word, if there is one. So the metheg will never fall on the tonic syllable. And it's really only on the last word in a verse where you have this ambiguity. Anyway, so that's one accent there, called the saluk. Probably the most important accent, other than that one, to pay attention to, is this one. This sort of upside down wishbone here. This one right here. And it is called the atnach. Now the atnach divides your verse into two parts. Not dividing by length, doesn't divide it equally into two equal length portions, but by sense. So it'll tell you where is a good place to put a period or a clause, at the end of a clause, or perhaps a comma if you're translating. And when you're reading verbally, orally, just put a pause there. So Bereshit bara Elohim, in the beginning God created. Well, what did he create? Et hashamayim ve'et haaretz. So you see how it marks a separation between the two major parts of the verse. And sometimes that can be very useful, because it's not always clear in Hebrew text where the clauses end and where the next one starts. And the atnach will tell you at least what the Masoretes thought. And what the Masoretes thought was usually pretty good. So, it's useful for reading. It'll help you do your translation and understand your meaning. Other than that, there's a whole pile of little accents. And they have meaning, but I don't know what they are. I haven't gotten that far in my Hebrew yet. They divide up into two groups, disjunctive and conjunctive. So some will cause pauses, others will cause phrases to come together or words to come together. And they are useful. They have two different systems. One system for Psalms, Proverbs, and Job, and then another system, a slightly different system for the rest of the books. So that's a whole study in itself. You can take a look at that sometime. But even without knowing all that, if you simply know this here, Sof Pasuk, which isn't an accent, but it marks the end of your verse, know that one, and know your Atnach, that'll help you. Also, know that the accent always falls on the tonic syllable. That'll help you pronounce it. So sometimes accents are at the top. On top, see that this one's on top. Most of them are on the bottom. Let's read through this, and there's probably some other things I want to comment on here, and we'll talk about the method and the makef as we come across them. So, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. V'ha'aretz hayita tohu vavohu v'choshech al panei tehom. And here's our atnach. So let me pause there. So v'ha'aretz, and the land, hayita tohu vavohu, the land was, and here we have formless and void, tohu vavohu. This I think only occurs 3 times in the Bible. And darkness, v'choshech al panei tehom, and darkness was on the surface of the deep. This tehom is the deep. So here, al tehom, or sorry, al panei, we have a makef, which joins these 2 words. So there's no accent here, no accent mark, because there's no stress, because this whole piece is functioning as a single word, and there's 1 accent at the end. So there's an example of a makef. So, v'ha'aretz hayita tohu vavohu v'choshech al panei tehom, v'ruach Elohim merachefet al panei hamayim. But, so I'm going to translate this but as opposed to and, because I think it's a contrast. Darkness was on the surface of the deep, but Ruach Elohim, the Spirit of God, merachefet, and this means brooded or hovered, some sort of activity. Ruach Elohim merachefet al panei hamayim. Here again we see al panei on the surface of, on the face of, and then hamayim, water, which may indicate that there's some parallelism here between tehom and hamayim. So first we have the darkness was on the surface of the deep, but the Spirit of God was moving over the surface of the waters. So I think we have a contrast here. Again, we have the same words. We have our makef here, and here we have a saluk, end of verse. Saluk, sof pasuk. Okay. Vayomer. Okay, we got our accent here, so we know to say vayomer, not vayomer. Okay, so these things help you. Vayomer Elohim, God said, Yehi or. Then we have our atnach. God said, let there be light. Or is light. Vayhi or. And there was light. So we can see here our atnach is helping us. God said, let there be light. End of clause, perhaps even the end of a sentence if you want to translate this in English. Vayhi or, next sentence, and there was light. Or perhaps a semicolon if you want to keep those 2 together. But there's a definite distinction there, a definite break. Here we have another makef, Yehi or, and this is our saluk, because we have a sof pasuk here. And this here is a metheg. And this metheg is preventing this, or reminding us that this is not to be reduced, even though it is in a propretonic position from the tonic syllable. That's a bit of a mouthful, but if you remember, this is our stress syllable. This is 2 off, at least 2 off. Let's see, vayhi, yeah, 2 syllables before the tonic syllable. So this would typically be reduced, but this method is reminding us, don't reduce it. Pronounce it fully, even though it's so far from the tonic syllable. So it's effectively a lesser stress on the word, a secondary lesser stress. Vayhi or. So, next verse. Vayar Elohim et haor kitov. So God saw, et, direct object marker, God saw et haor, God saw the light was good, or that the light was good. Vayavdel Elohim ben haor uven hachoshech. Okay, atnach here, God saw the light was good, or perhaps when God saw the light was good. Vayavdel Elohim, verb, he divided God divided. Now, bain is used to, I like the English word between, and you use it twice. God divided between the light and the darkness. He divided light from darkness in English. Now, one note here: when you're reading Hebrew, sometimes the same word will sound different in different places. Here you have bain, here you have uvein, and that shouldn't surprise you. This is just the dagesh lene that isn't here because you have an u in front of it. We'll talk about all this later. But just don't be surprised when things sound different in different contexts. Just kind of run with the flow. So, end of verse. Next verse. Vayikra Elohim laor yom v'lachoshech kara laila atnach. End of clause. Vayikra Elohim, God named, in this case, because the la there, God named the light day. Now, remember we talked about inseparable prepositions, le, be, and que, when they're attached to things. Here we have one attached to or. We had or before. Here's or with the article, ha. Here's or with la in front of it. So it may make the word look different. Well, it does, in fact. But if you see le, me, or que, you may well have an inseparable preposition, even if the vowel isn't a shava. We'll talk about times when the vowel changes. Here we have it again, la choshech. Here the vowel is different than here. What's going on here is that Aleph likes commences and the other gutturals like patachs. So there are rules for all these things. But just all I'm trying to say now is, don't be surprised if you get some shifting of vowels. Vowels are fluid, so just run with the flow. So we have God called, or God named the light day, and the darkness He called night. End of Sof Pasuk. Vayhi erev, vayhi voker, yom echad. And there was evening, there was morning, day one. And here we have another makef, and again a metheg, indicating that this should not be reduced. This is a full vowel, just like we had up here. Vayhi or, here we have vayhi erev, there was evening. Vayhi voker, same thing again, but morning. Voker is morning. Yom echad, day one. And then a saluk, marking that goes with the sof pasuk and marks the end of the verse. And this symbol is paragraph marker, end of the paragraph. So I hope that doesn't scare you. It's not meant to scare you. It's meant to show you some real text. I'm sure you'll enjoy it once you get to the point where you can read this. But even now, this should show you a little bit of what it looks like and how to distinguish vowels from accent marks. And these accent marks can help you even if you don't use them to their full potential.
Yeah. Interessant, eh? Oh, very interesting. Sorry. Very interesting for our English friends. Very interesting. What I learned from this is the differences between words. They might sound the same, but sometimes are spelled differently. And it has to do with these little markings. Let's have a look at here, different color. Like he said over here, Alpene and Alpene. So we have two times the word, but this little marker over here tells us slight difference in pronunciation. And what we do, of course, when we study Hebrew, we try to understand the depth of it. So this is one word, Alpene tehom, and this is Alpene hamayim. So it seems like the deep has a face and the water has a face. And we all might remember the verse in Psalms where it says, deep calls unto deep. Well, this is the word for deep. This means deep. So when it calls from its face, and it might be calling to the waters. And so there is all these things come to you when you start reading the text in original Hebrew, and especially when you just look at the text and try to get the meaning from it. We are all learning on this fantastic journey, and we are in the process of understanding the individual letters and how to pronounce them. And now we're getting one step further, is all these weird symbols now get some meaning. So let's have a look at, oh, put the annotate out and over here, yeah. This is the same Hebrew text over here. This Bereshit 1. This is the Bible Hub, one of these versions, and maybe some little bit bigger. You can see it bigger now. This is same verse, same text. And you see them without them in blue, but you now get an understanding about these all these symbols he talked about, like this one, the what was it called, the siluk, and it's not here I have to look it up, a metek, because it's in the last syllable, and this is the end of the verse, end of verse marker. This one is also important. This helps me enormously. When I saw this lesson again, I say, oh yes, of course, the Atnach. So the Atnach helps you to pause and to understand. There is like, let me draw it like this. You see, this is the Atnach, to me, causes a balance between parts of a sentence. So you could say this part over here has a balance with this part over here. So these are two parts of a balance, of a scale. So you look for the Atnach, here it is. So here is the balance. This part is in balance with this part. We look for the Atnach over here, there it is, in verse number 4. Vayar Elohim et haor kitov. Vayavdil Elohim ben haor uven hachoshech. So here we have the balance scale, like this. So it helps you. The Atnach helps you to understand where the balance in the text is. Let's look. Oh, here it is. Vayikra Elohim laor yom v'lachoshech kara laila vehi eref vehi boker yom echad. So again, here is the balance in the text. So now let's go to this one, annotate out. Let's have a look. I need to wipe it out. I thought so. Wipe it all out. Ups flaps. Now let's look at the same text with the English translation under it, and that's the last thing we do for tonight. So we see here the same word, Bereshit. We see here, oh, let's put the annotate on. Oh, I did something. You see here these, oh, come on. These dots, this one, is your syllable marker. So when you do the transcribing of verse 1 to 5, and you want to find your syllable markers, you see the dots. So it's be, re, and the aleph is part of this syllable, sheet. This aleph, we will discuss this in lesson number 6, is a quiescent letter. It's still there, but it's lost its meaning. So don't be confused about it. The aleph is in the word, but it has no sound, no vowel. It's just there because it's never it will never leave. And there are some of these letters do this. They are there in the word, but they have no vowel. So you do not pronounce them. You do not need to worry. You only need to understand it's still a vowel, a consonant. So this is CVC. Resh, Tsere, Aleph, CVC. So here the Atnach is here. You can see it. This is, you see et. Let's undo this. You see the et with the, how do you say that? The Tsere. But below here, oh, annotate off. There is another et. Where is it? Yeah. The et. No, it's a combination. There was a combination with the metech. Yeah, over here. Oh, come on. Sorry, guys. Need to wipe my. You see here the et with a sagol. It's short. It's not long because of this symbol, the makif. Let's say correct? The makef. Yeah, the makef. The connector. This becomes one word, and the accent, the tone is on this one, so this shortens. So now we have these lessons about accents, and we now have a better understanding, and we're able to a little bit understand better how to pronounce word and to see the balance in the sentences by taking a look at the Atnach and understand there's all these little symbols have their meaning, but you know why I have Dale. Here is the accent because this is the accent marker. Yes, we're getting there, guys, and keep on hanging in there. When you do your homework, like the exercises in the book or the exercises in the additional book, when you write the text out, when you do now for the next week, take your time to just do one verse at a time. Don't say I have to do 5 verses. Take 10 minutes to write out Genesis 1:1, Bereshit, Bara, etc. Write it out and do the syllable markers. Do which one is CVC, which one is CV. Find out where the stress is. So you have CVC with a stress or CV with a stress, and then do tonic, pretonic, pro-pretonic. Then you get, when you look at the verse, you see Elohim, it has 3 syllables. So the syllable is there. So this is pretonic, etc. And then when you start to do this by hand, writing it out, your brain get the information. So in time, when you look at the word, what you know, you will see. That is why we do this homework. It's process, and it begins with, like I said, I encourage you, it begins with the letters, the letters, to read the letters, to understand them. Now we are coming into the part where we are reading syllables instead of different letters. We can see the syllables because we have understanding where the shava is silent and where the shava is vocal. So we see the shava, it's either a syllable marker, this is the end of the syllable, or it's the beginning of a next syllable. It's always at the beginning of the end of a syllable. So you know something is going on here, and you need to think CV, CVC, stressed or unstressed. And that's the way we're still in our thinking, try to figure out what it means. That takes time. But when you do it consistently, only take 10 minutes a day for it, or 15. Just do it. The routine will get on speed. And when you do that, when you do it every day, 15 minutes, the routine will take over and it gets much easier. And Marcel had a great suggestion. Marcel, I borrow your example you told me last Thursday. It's so good. In the end of this book, you have a big Hebrew English glossary. And what Marcel did, and I think it's a very good suggestion. I can show you like this. These are the Hebrew words in alphabetical order. And just look at the word. Just glance over them. So you see the word Bachar, and it means to choose. And so you read one column out loud. You try to pronounce the word Beten, womb, inmost. And the first time you read it, you don't have a clue what you're talking about. But Marshall said when he looked back at some of the earlier pages, it was much easier. This is what you call brain training. Get accustomed to the writing, and the next phase we're coming in is getting accustomed to the meaning. So now the first step is always learning to read the letters. Now we're in the second phase, learning to read syllables. The next phase is seeing a word and now how to read it, and then comes get the understanding, get the meaning of the word. And this in the end will help us tremendously. So guys, I bless you. See you next week, and have a great time, and let's go for it. We will do this. We can make it. Amen.
Dankjewel, Ronald.
Yeah. Bye bye.
Bye.
Oh,
Bye.
I need
Dankjewel.
to. Thank you, Marcel. I need to save my whiteboard. So sorry, my whiteboard comes up again because I need to save it. Yes, now it's saved. I can stop share. Yes. God bless you. God bless you.